Hey, 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 it's me again. I know I'm everywhere, aren't I? Everywhere you go, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. You can't switch me off, can you? So I'm back and I'm flying solo because James is delivering speeches. He's loving it. He's loving that he's traveling. And if you follow him on social media, you'll see some lovely posts and pictures and lots of detail of what he's doing. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Anyway, meanwhile, I might be flying solo, but today I have a co-pilot, and you'll see that this is just a brilliant link, right? Our guest today spent 20 years flying for the RAF, deploying to hot places, being shot, and occasionally crashing the odd helicopter. During her time, both at home and at war, she made some important discoveries. People don't always feel as strong as they look. Resilience and performance is not instinctive, but humans have an impressive ability to endure and even thrive in adversity when they know how. She now has one mission: to share the secret of outstanding performance, resilience, and courage under fire. And I'm interested to hear all about this because I need some help here. So please welcome Sarah Furness. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, lovely to be here. And I've just got a frog at the perfect moment.
Fantastic. Yes. So yeah, you have to deal with frogs all the time when you're speaking, right? They always turn up at the wrong time. So listen, I want to get into your story because obviously the whole story about helicopters, it's all exciting, it's all sexy. So what made you decide to transition from flying helicopters in the RAF to being a full-time speaker? It's quite a change.
Yes, it is. So a couple of things. As you said, I discovered that performance and resilience is not actually instinctive. A lot of us kind of work it out as we go along, but you can actually train for it proactively. So I was very interested in how I could help people do that. And then I actually got speaking to some other ex-military people like John Peters, who's famous from Tornado Down. And he was like, Sarah, it's a no-brainer, get on the speaking circuit. So this sort of idea kept kind of coming back to me. And then eventually I thought, right, I'm just going to give it a go. And I was astonished to learn that people actually want to hear helicopter stories. so now I kind of use those stories as a vehicle to get the lessons that I want the world, I think the world deserves to hear, I suppose.
Yeah, fantastic. Of course we want to hear about helicopter stories, especially someone, you don't look like a helicopter pilot, if you don't mind me saying, and maybe that I shouldn't have that view, but you look like a glamorous, you look like somebody who could be on TV presenting, very glam, very petite, looking great. You don't look like a helicopter pilot. Do other helicopter pilots look like you?
Helicopter pilots are irritatingly attractive, actually. I would love to have been the only sort of feminine girl, if you like, but no, and I do trade on that, if I'm honest. It depends on the audience. Some people want someone who looks like a helicopter pilot, but I've discovered I can have a bit of fun with kind of just going on stage in a sort of flowery dress and then telling them about being shot at. And I think it just gives another dimension to a speech, which I'm able to use. So why not, basically?
And actually, I mean, this wasn't originally a question I was going to ask you, but I do need to understand what possesses somebody to actually go and become a combat helicopter pilot. Why did you do it?
Well, I think the answer is going to be disappointing because it's the same answer that every honest pilot will give you. It's all because of Top Gun.
Oh no, I love Top Gun and I can't wait for the next one to come out.
I know.
Tom Cruise, if you're listening, we'd love to have you to contribute. Come and join us. Oh no, I love that.
Yeah, but it just inspired me. And I think that's the wonderful thing when you're a bit younger, because I was 12 when I first watched it. I just thought, yeah, why not? There's no barriers in your brain at that point. And I was fortunate, both my parents, they also just didn't see any barriers, although at that point, women weren't even flying fast jets. So technically it wasn't possible. But when I told my parents, they went, brilliant idea, Sarah, off you go. So I just went, right, that's what I'm doing then.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. So now that you are a speaker, what do you think has most contributed to your success?
So I think it helps that there aren't that many female pilots. I'm all for female empowerment, but just not too many female pilots, please. Just let me. So I do think that helps because it is something a bit different. And so I suppose in some ways I feel very lucky in that I can relate to a macho audience, which may be male or female, but but also I'm a mother, and a single mother actually, and I've been divorced and all that kind of stuff. So I think that it also relates to the feminine audience, shall we say, and again that can be male or female. So I feel like that's allows me to be quite relatable to lots of different people, and they can pick what they want, to take home with them. So I think that helps. And also I've had some great advice and some great mentors that really helped me to kind of get my brand out there. Not least you, Maria. You've helped me to put me on the map. So if you just follow Maria's advice, you'll do really well.
Yeah, just do what I say. I'm bossy, I know. Actually, I'm so glad that we actually stumbled across each other, because I saw you speak actually at a PSA event, the Professional Speaking Association, and I thought, oh my goodness, this girl, if you don't mind me calling you a girl, because for me you're much younger than me, has got something special. I knew it straight away, and you didn't know it. You did not believe it, I don't think. Are you beginning to believe it now?
Yes, yes, I guess I understand that people want to hear what I've got to say. So yes, you did see something and you really helped me. And again, and in fairness, I think John was really good with this as well. And I also spoke to people like Mandy Hickson, who's brilliant, and both of them have been very generous with their attention and advice, particularly Mandy, because she's another female pilot, but the world's big enough for all of us, right? But they've been really, really helpful in in sort of getting me out there.
Yeah, and they've been very successful on the speaker circuit. They know it. They're established. They can tell you, the things not to do. The mistakes they might have made. They can help you. No, fantastic. Two really great mentors there. So there will be people listening in, and actually thank you for people who are saying good to be here and hello. We can't see your name sadly, but we're very happy to have you. People who'll be listening in who are thinking, I want to get started as a speaker. So what were the steps you took? How did you get started? You've already told us you've had some help, but what did you do?
Well, I actually put on an event. So it was just as COVID was sort of finishing. So last July, I thought, no one knows who I am. No one's going to book me. So I'll put on my own event and I'll invite people to come and hear me speak. And I did invite John and Mandy actually, but I also managed through John to get Ollie Smith, the famous TV wine celebrity, and he was wonderful. So I managed to get some people to come and hear me speak, and from that I got my sort of first speaking gigs really. I know Siobhan and Steve Brookman, I don't think they can make the call, but I invited them because they were quite influential. I don't know if they know that they were, but they were. So the first thing was, it's just being visible. It's just getting yourself out there. And when you start out, no one knows who you are. So I just kind of made my own audience. So I think that's the first thing. And I think, the advice really is just do it. Just get out there and do it, because the best marketing you can ever do is speaking. And I think also getting that feedback. So John and Mandy kind of sat me down. I went for some drinks in Henley afterwards. Brilliant. They went, right, you're no longer delivering RAF briefs, Sarah. You're now entertaining people. You need to get into this mindset. So they gave me some fantastic advice that I could use to turn what used to be a presentation into a keynote speech. And there's a big difference.
Huge difference. When I saw you, by the time I saw you, you had already gone quite some route down that. You had a good speech, and you were, you're somebody that I wanted to listen to. In fact, you could hear a pin drop when you were talking. So I think you'd already had that advice. So that's fantastic. And I love the idea of creating your own event. If you haven't got an event, create your own. So true. The more you speak, the more you speak. In fact, that's the advice that Jamil Qureshi, who's one of the most book speakers here in the UK, probably internationally really, always says, the more you speak, but you have to be good, because if you're bad, you'll just destroy your career very fast, right? like anybody, if you're a bad singer or a bad comedian, the more you do it, the worse you do need to practice, but practice in safe environments. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think you've touched upon this, but let's go a bit deeper. What are the things that make you bookable? You've said that there's the helicopter stories. You've said that there's this whole feminine side in a masculine world. What else makes it easy for people to book you?
Yeah. What makes it easy for people to book me? I mean, again, this is advice that you've given me, and this is being booked and being rebooked, I suppose. I do think certain people specifically want military experience, so that is a no-brainer. And also the fact that we're more and more promoting female leadership, so that is also a no-brainer. And I'm very lucky to be a minority, so I think that really helps. I think the reason, my personal commitment is the reason that I am being booked is because people will walk away with something they didn't have before. And that might be knowledge, because I talk a lot about unitasking, for example, versus multitasking. But I think the really big thing is permission. And what I've learned is that people, all sorts of tough, confident, capable people, have self-doubt, and they put things in the way because they just don't think that they can get there. And my aim is for people to walk out that room and go, I've got permission, because we're all looking for it. We're all looking for it. And I think that's the main job as a speaker, is you walk out that room with permission. I think the other thing that helps you get rebooked is being really easy to work with. So being on time, ringing them to say, I'm on the way. This is all stuff that you talk about, Maria, just being a really easy person to work with, because ultimately the people that are organizing the event probably don't care what you're talking about. They care that you turn up on time. So I think that helps as well.
Absolutely. You've said a lot of great stuff here, actually. So you mentioned, obviously, your USP was an easy USP. For some people, it's harder, but you definitely need to have that USP that makes you stand out and makes you unique. And we've all got it. We just don't always see it sometimes ourselves. And sometimes we need somebody else to put a mirror up and say, that's what makes you different, makes you special. That's your USP. So that's great. The thing about permission is lovely. It's like a theme through your life in a way, because at the age of 12, you were given permission to follow the dream that you had. And now you're giving people permission to do what they need to do or want to do. So I quite like that. There's sort of like a strand there. It's nice. It's I don't know if you spotted that. Had you spotted that?
I think I was chatting to a lady, Harriet Green, who's incredibly influential. She said, what is your brand? What's your thing? And I said, oh my God, I hate this question because I don't know the answer. And then I thought, I think it's permission. I think that's what it is.
I think it's good. I like that. I like that. And then the other thing you said, and I want to come back to this because it's something I struggle with. So the unitasking versus multitasking. So is this something that you're taught then as a pilot, that you have to unitask and not multitask? I saw your ear fell out there. Hopefully you heard me. Are you still there? Have we lost you?
I'm still here. So yes, we were taught that. I didn't know that's what it was at the time. Actually, I thought that I was being taught how to multitask, because you get loads of injects when you're flying. But actually, and I've built a whole talk around this. There was that moment when everything went wrong and I hit wires and the canopy shattered and it got very noisy. And I remember my captain saying to me, fly the aircraft, Sarah. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was a moment that I come back to all the time, because he was saying, focus your attention in the place it needs to be, which is flying that aircraft, not, fantasizing about, your eulogy or anything like that. And actually, when I reflected back on it, I realized that's what the training was all about. They would kind of pile the pressure on bit by bit, it's very controlled. But really what they were doing was allowing us to hone this ability to focus on the one thing that mattered in that moment. And that's how you get people to perform. It's about focusing on one thing. But our brain doesn't like doing it. It likes to be all over the place. So you have to train yourself to do it.
Sometimes it's like herding cats in my brain.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's interesting because this theme keeps coming up for me again and again and again. I'm going to have to pay attention to that. I'm sure there's others who agree. So we now know that one of our contributors here is Olga. Hello, Olga. Thank you very much for revealing yourself.
Hi, Olga.
It's always lovely to see her. So brilliant. I like that. So tell me, in terms of your topic, because obviously when you start out, I think often as speakers, we start out with a topic that we think is bookable, and we go out there and we test it out, and then clients give us feedback and we end up tweaking it. Have you tweaked your topic? Have you got more than one topic now?
I do. And so, Olga's obviously from the PSA, and I met you at the PSA. The PSA are brilliant, like you say, for having that safe space to test topics. And they will give you very kind but honest feedback. And if you get a client who will be honest, because often they're quite polite, aren't they? That is absolutely gold dust. So I have refined it. And I would say that I have 3 topics that I've refined it down to. One is performance. resilience, and then courage, which is really self-belief. So those are kind of the three main themes. And I have, every speech is different because it's always evolving. Some recent feedback that I got was brilliant. He said, I could tell that was an idea that was interesting to you, Sarah. What they want to hear is helicopter stories. And I was like, okay, point taken. So I think when you talk, if you're talking about a theme like resilience, talk about something you absolutely know works, not something, you know, the kind of the thought leadership stuff. That's not the place to experiment with it. You don't do it on a keynote stage. So I kind of had a bit of a humbling reminder there that, you know, it's not about you going on your own discovery. It's about what the audience are going to take away from it.
They want to know about your experiences. They want your unique stories. And often, actually, I find that clients, a lot of audiences are pretty sophisticated, actually, and they actually want to draw the lessons from the stories that you tell them. And you're going to have some amazing stories. So, yeah, of course, they want to hear about helicopter stories. So let's have a look at what we've got here. We've got a comment here. So more than one topic is very important, as long as you like the variety. Some people prefer to have just one because they prefer consistency. I think there's no right or wrong. You should do what suits better for you and your clients, right? It all comes under one theme, though, doesn't it? So it's sort of under one umbrella. So people know that, you know, it makes sense that somebody who is a former combat helicopter pilot would know about performance, would know about resilience, would know about courage. They all fits with you. It's not a stretch. None of these are a stretch. So I think that's why it works very well. Yeah, perfect. So tell me now, you obviously you're getting booked now. It's going well. How much of it is self-generated? How much are you getting from bureaus? And how did you get in with the bureaus?
Well, I went on one of your prospecting days, and you told me all the things I needed to do to be speaker bureau ready, and I followed your instructions, and it worked. So I got in through the bureaus by, you know, following that process, you know, having that speaker website, having that show reel, doing all that stuff, you know, and I don't need to repeat it because people can sign up to your. I feel like I'm doing your PR for you, but it works.
Yeah, thank you. I'll pay you later.
there was that. And then also, again, you know, I learned this from kind of doing that prospecting day, was creating that diary of annual events and sort of getting into their battle rhythm, going, right, they're probably, you know, now is a month before the event, terrible time to get in contact. Now, 2 months down the line, they're probably thinking about next year. So, you know, that kind of thing, and approaching them. And so I have had a real win because I'm going to be at the Richmond Events Communication Directors Forum in November at the Grove, which I'm very excited about because I kind of followed that process. And then the third one is people coming to me, and they often come from military backgrounds, so MOD, some of the more sneaky beaky ones that I'm probably not allowed to say, and also like DIO, which is the Defence Infrastructure Organisation. So they come to me. So that's the three ways I get my gigs.
Fantastic, fantastic. And so the speaker bureaus, what sort of proportion would you say, or is it half and half, or are they more? Is it more bureaus or more you?
It's probably half and half, I would say.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's really good. And also the other thing I've noticed and I've seen, and you're very good at this, I've seen that you're active in sharing content, really excellent content. And I follow you on LinkedIn, and you write beautifully. And I don't know if this was something, did you know that you could write before you started on LinkedIn?
I love writing, and I've always wanted to write a book, and I have just written a book, which is being published as we speak with Rethink Press. It will be ready in time for the PSA Global Summit. So I've always loved writing. So yeah, I suppose that is one way that I can kind of get my ideas out there and be visible.
Big news. What's the book called?
Well, I'm open to suggestions. The working title is Choose to Fly. I did a little LinkedIn poll on this. One of the ideas I had was to call it How to Be a Superhero, Not a Sociopath, because I think that's quite funny. But we wondered if that might be a little bit offensive And in today's world, I don't think you get any prizes for being offensive. So I think I'm going to go with choose to fly, but we've still got time.
I think we should ask Tom Cruise.
Yes,
I think we should reach out to him and say, Tom, we need your advice. I need an excuse to reach out to him. I'll do it for you. Okay, fantastic. Brilliant. And if you've got any suggestions, anybody in the comments, we'd love your suggestions. And I want a dedicated signed copy when I see you in Dublin. Okay, you heard it here. I have witnesses. So talk to me. So obviously, business is going well. Tell me about what's happening, because people will want to know for sure what's happening with regards to lead times. Are they getting longer? Are they getting shorter? What's happening?
So that's really interesting. And again, I still consider myself new. So this is one turn of the wheel. This is, this year has been the year where it's just really gone, explosive. So I'm finding a lot of short notice stuff comes in. And I even wondered if that could be a forte, because if you can be comfortable with a little bit of uncertainty and allow some gaps in your diary, then actually, you sort of person you can say, look, if something comes up short notice or someone pulls out short notice, think of me. If I can help, I will. And I love the logistical challenge of trying to make things work. So there's definitely quite a lot of, short notice. And I would say the lead time at the moment can be anywhere between a week and 2 months. And then, there can be quite a big gap, but then also, as I say, there's this thing in November. So the annual ones are going to be longer out, but the ones that sort of pop up from corporate clients, they do tend to be shorter lead time. And I'm just kind of, like I say, I think my mindset on this is be flexible if you can be. The other thing that I've been doing is, when I go to like a wellbeing expo or something like that, and I see there's lots of speakers, I'll reach out to them and say, just so you know, I'm going to be at your event. If something should happen to one of your speakers, just bear me in mind, here's my number. I'm happy to pop up, short notice. So I think almost just, if that's what the trend is, to be short notice, embrace it and go, I'm okay with this. That's what I'm doing anyway.
Love that. That is so good. And I have to tell you that when I ran my bureau, I had certain people that were go-to people that I knew would not panic in a short notice situation. And people do pull out. They do pull out. They pull out because they get sick or something goes wrong with the travel. And at the moment, there's still disruption with travel and things. So they can pull out for all sorts of reasons. The partner gets sick. It does happen. Oh, there's an accident, God forbid. But these things do happen. So that's wonderful. And what a lovely idea when you go to an event. Instead of saying to them, oh, if you've got a gap, I'm available. You're saying if someone pulls out, if you have dead air, I'm here. That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, fabulous. So something else that people are going to be wanting to know. And actually, before I move on, I've just got to read Aaron Phipps's lovely message. I've heard Sarah speak. She is amazing. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, isn't that nice? And Aaron equally is amazing. So the two of you on the same program would be just awesome, top and tail, wouldn't you? That would be really good. The other thing that people will be curious about, which comes up all the time, is fees. Now, when you're starting out, there's a bit of nervousness around your fee. Have you changed your fee since you started out? Now that you're getting busier, has it gone up, down, or sideways?
It's gone up, which is obviously good news for speakers. So, and I think a lot of it is me giving myself permission to ask a higher price. So I think every time you kind of quote, not every time, I'm not just trying to make money for the sake of it. I've got a figure in mind that I think I probably could charge. And it's sort of leaning a little bit more into your discomfort zone to give yourself that permission to ask that fee. But I think it's good to get that feedback that helps you to have that confidence. And one of the last gigs that I went to, someone said, in confidence, you could charge more for that. So it helps me to know that I'm not kind of outreaching what people think I'm worth. So that's a good indicator.
That's fabulous. When somebody says we would have paid you more, one, that you've delivered a great speech because you've delivered more than they were expecting, but you probably do kick yourself a little bit and think, oh goodness, I could have charged a bit more. But it's better to be that way round than the other way around. I have to say, it's better than to be, to under deliver. So always over deliver. I love that. So we haven't got any questions yet from the group. So in fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. let's look at what advice would you give, or what tips might you give to somebody starting out? And that could include maybe any software that you use or any tools that you use, because we've already talked about having some mentors, you've already talked about getting support, you've talked about the PSA, but maybe you have tools that you use and other things that you've used to get your business off the ground. What would you suggest?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So in terms of kind of software, I think we're all aware that the speaker world is quite hybrid. I do probably a third virtual, 2/3 face-to-face. I prefer face-to-face, but you know what? You can't beat virtual for the logistics side of it. And your presentation needs to be, a professional presentation. They need to feel like they are on that stage. So investing in the software, and also not just kind of banging out the same presentation, but actually optimizing it for virtual, I think is really, really going to help. And I know there's some real experts out there, and again, I've worked with people in the PSA, but I do use Ecamm Live to help make, I've got with the brick wall, and that's great because you can sort of flick slides up and it looks really professional. So I think that really helps. And the other thing, and this is also a tip that I got from another speaker, is recording your talks on, I think it's called Otter, and you sort of use it as a dictaphone. But then, because when you're rehearsing, that's really important. And then when you've got that kind of transcript, when you work with the military, they often want you to send the slides ahead, and you don't have control over the slides. So if you can rehearse and then send them the transcript and go next slide, you don't have to worry. Whereas if it's kind of a bog standard sort of, this is roughly my plan, that it won't work. So I think those bits of software have really helped me just to make the virtual side of things look as professional as you can make it, because there's no excuse really in today's age. People are very forgiving, I would say, of tech faffs, but you want to be the speaker that doesn't have the tech faff.
Absolutely. That's interesting to say that you use the transcription in order to say when the next slide comes on. That's a really good tip for anybody if you're not in control of your slides. And I know that everybody would rather be in control of the slides, because it is a stress when you've got somebody doing it, and you don't want to be saying next slide please, because it's like a COVID briefing then, isn't it? I think that's a great tip. And you're absolutely right that although people are forgiving of tech mishaps, they're not forgiving of poor sound, poor video, poor quality slides, etc. They want it to be a TV experience. So that's great. We have a question from a LinkedIn user who we don't know, but our LinkedIn user is saying, were you used to public speaking beforehand? I think you've alluded a little bit to this.
Yeah, so I was, and it does get easier the more you do it. So I did a lot of public speaking in the military. Now you're talking about talking to a room of 40 people, and it's more facilitative and it's more back and forth. But I was definitely used to standing in front of a bunch of people and talking. What the mindset change was going from presenting information to taking people on a journey and entertaining them. That was the difference. So I sort of feel like I've moved more into the acting world now, where you're kind of putting in those dramatic pauses and that kind of thing. So there's been fun with that. But also, just on that, someone came up to me the other day and said, oh, I don't think I could ever public speak because I get so nervous. And one thing I want to say is I don't know any public speaker who doesn't get nervous. In fact, I probably use my brain more speaking than I did flying a helicopter. Make of that what you will. But you really do, you really do need to be on your A game, because you're taking in what the audience are coming up with. And, so I don't think there's any public speaker who doesn't feel some nervousness, but hopefully you can see that it doesn't stop you just getting up there. You just get up there and you just start speaking, basically.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Sarah, you have given us so much value. It's been absolutely fabulous. And I'm so thrilled to see you going from strength to strength. And I'm also delighted that I'm going to be seeing you in Dublin later this year, if not before, because we're overdue a glass of fizz, aren't we? Yes. Or a cocktail. You like cocktails, don't you? Totally overdue. Yeah. So it might be carnage in Dublin. Watch out. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to share, if anybody would like to get in touch with you, the best place is either LinkedIn or your website, which is sarahfurness.com. So if you want to book her, engage with her, connect with her, find out more about helicopters, that's where to go. Sarah, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
I have. It's absolute pleasure chatting to you, Maria, as always.
Fantastic. Robert, well, we're going to love you and leave you. And yeah, I'm going to go and find out when Top Gun is getting released. Bye-bye from me.
Bye.